Welcome back to the Dunwoody Dialogues. I am Mark Galvin. I'm the Vice President of Marketing for Discover Dunwoody, and I am absolutely thrilled that you have joined us today. Here on the Dunwoody Dialogues, we talk to really important people from in and around Dunwoody, and we love it that you're here. If you haven't seen our other shows, page down. We've got so many other great shows. In fact, there's 49 shows below us here because this is our 50th show. And I am so appreciative that you're here to join us for this show. And because it's our 50th, I want to share some great things with you. First of all, congratulations to our producer / director, Madison Holtz. Without her, we could not have done any of this. Our communications manager, Madison is always doing some great work. So just go check out our social media and you'll see some of the work that she does. I also want to give a shout out to Emily Inser Gibson. Secretly, I just want you to know, it's going to be Inser Allen one day, very soon. She is our office project manager and our sound technician for our shows, and we could not do this without her. I also want to give a special shout out to the rest of the team that supports this endeavor, including MJ, he's our VP of Sales, Treasurer Wilson, who is our Senior Sales Manager, Ashley Rossalillo, who is our Entertainment Coordinator, and Tom Pittick, who is our database manager. All of them have to be quiet during these shows, and they work with us, and we so appreciate them. Finally, our champion of champions, Ray Ezel, who is our executive director. He allows us to take over the office during these meetings or during these recordings, so we so appreciate him. Finally, we appreciate all of you. All of you support this show, and we appreciate you spending time with us each time we drop one of these great recordings. So in celebration of this milestone, we have a very special guest, our very own Mayor of Dunwoody, Mayor Lynn Deutsch. Mayor, welcome.
Thank you so much for having me.
I am so glad you could find the time because you are busy. I'll be honest, we were not thinking the 50th show for our mayor. It's just really hard to get on your schedule because you don't sleep.
Sometimes it feels that way.
I have a list of things that you have done, and it's really impressive because of course, I've known you as mayor because I came here to Discover Dunwoody just 2 years ago now. But you've been mayor since 2020, and you served on the city council, but even before then, since 2012. So you've been very connected to Dunwoody. I wanted to share with all of you the degrees that our mayor has. You've got a degree in journalism, which makes me a little nervous doing this show now, as well as in government at the University of Texas. So you could have gone to one of the UTs because you grew up in Memphis, but you chose the University of Texas. Why University of Texas?
It's a little complicated. My high school yearbook actually says I'm going to Tulane.
Wow. Another T school.
Another T school in New Orleans, which is a fantastic city. But when I went to visit one more time, I found that maybe it wasn't exactly the right fit. And I had whittled through most of my college list. UT Austin was the only place left that I had been accepted that I hadn't visited.
Wow.
And so we made a quick last-minute trip, and Austin is a fantastic city. It was particularly beautiful in the spring, and Austin and the university had a lot to offer, and so that's where I landed. I had a great 4 years there.
Oh, that's fantastic. Then you went on, you got a master's degree in city planning from Georgia Tech.
I did.
And all of this, and it's almost as if you've been working your entire life to become mayor of Dunwoody, because you served on the Dunwoody Planning Commission, you were serving on the board of your neighborhood's women's club, as well as the Dunwoody Homeowners Association. By the way, when you hear about our homeowners association, it is a very large organization in Dunwoody. It's not just one little neighborhood. I thought this was interesting. You were appointed by the Governor Sonny Perdue, to the Master Teacher and Academic Coach Implementation Committee. There's a lot there.
Right.
What was that all about?
So I had been a big advocate for education in DeKalb County and involved in the early days of the charter school movement. And so I had made a bit of a name for myself. And the requirements of that committee required 2 parent representatives.
Okay.
no idea how the governor got my name. It was an interesting experience. It was my first experience with statewide activity. It was an honor to be appointed. It was also my first maybe large bureaucratic committee, and
Sure.
everything's a learning opportunity. It was a good experience overall.
Well, you didn't stop there. You are vice chair of Citizen Planning Task Force for DeKalb County Schools. That's in the past. That's not now.
That's not now. That was a while ago.
So still leaning into that. And then you currently serve on the Georgia Municipal Association, and you're chair of the policy committee for the DeKalb Municipal Association. You've got your hands in a lot of things. As I mentioned, I don't think she sleeps. I also see you as active on social media, and so that's one of the reasons why I don't think she sleeps, because she's always active on social. In fact, I just heard a phone go off. It was probably a notification that somebody responded on social to you. I always love to ask this question. I warned you in advance. This is my favorite in our show, and it's, what do you do and why do you do it? Now, we know what she does, but why do you want to be mayor of Dunwoody?
Well, you know my title, because I'm mayor of Dunwoody, but I don't think a lot of people necessarily understand what a mayor does. And of course, I became mayor in January of 2020, and the pandemic happened 8 weeks later.
Ooh, not great timing.
It was interesting timing, and I had one vision of what a mayor does. Where I've ended up is one of my number one priorities is communication, and that takes a lot of different forms. One is communicating with individuals. Another is communicating with visitors and employers, potential business owners, current business owners. In our form of government, I don't run the city, but most people think I do. Just the other day, I was out running errands on Saturday, and a neighbor stopped by to ask me about something in the neighborhood, my husband told me. And it tickles me because Dunwoody is 52,000 people. We are not Mayberry, although we feel an awful lot like Mayberry, which makes me very proud.
Yeah.
There are not a lot of cities that reach our population with our level of development, particularly commercial development, that can say that within our community, people feel like it's a small town.
They feel comfortable
And
reaching out
that's-
to you, just knocking on your door.
Just knocking on my door, and I became mayor. I had been on council for 8 years, and I thought I was through with this part of my career. I had a good 8 years. We had done a lot. Local government is different than any other form of government because you see what's happening in front of you. And people know you at the grocery store, they know you at the park, you run into your constituents all over. And I thought I was leaving us on the right track. But as the end of my term approached, I started to get concerned that Dunwoody wasn't moving forward fast enough.
Okay.
We have a lot of competition. We're not an isolated city.
So who do you see as our competition?
So from a commercial sense, Avalon, Midtown, Buckhead.
We definitely see Buckhead as a competitor for Discover Dunwoody.
For Discover Dunwoody, but Cumberland. And I felt like for the health of this community, particularly fiscally, but in every other way, that Dunwoody had to be relevant. And we couldn't be relevant if we weren't making smart changes and great choices. I had a vision of Dunwoody in the future that's very vibrant, very active, modern, that we had to have a plan, and we had to market that plan, and for lack of a better word, your leadership has to telegraph their vision so that corporations, companies, big businesses, small businesses of all types know that this is where they want to make their home.
So important.
And I never had a vision that I was going to be mayor from the first day I ran from city council. I think if someone had asked me that, I would have said, yeah, not ever. But I felt like it was important for the community that I love, that's been my home for 35 or more years, to be where they need it to be 10, 15, 20 years from now.
Right.
It was important that we lay the groundwork for that. And lots of people were asking me to run for mayor. I had spent a lot of, frankly, months, and maybe even years, telling people I wasn't interested. And the summer of 19, I did some serious soul searching. I decided that my slight reluctance to serve was not necessarily a reason to not share my vision with the community. You know, it wasn't guaranteed to win. I had an opponent.
Right.
But I worked really hard to make sure that in that election season that my vision for Dunwoody was put out, which is vibrancy, change. It's kind of funny. It's a very much not really a problem. But amongst our residents, some of our residents, their biggest concern was that Dunwoody didn't have a rooftop bar, and we can talk about that. But, you know,
we have one.
We have two.
Yep, that's right.
And another one coming. But the thing is what they were really saying is that I want to stay in Dunwoody to eat dinner out, to go out with my friends for my entertainment purposes, and we don't feel like there's anywhere to do that.
Boy, is that changing.
It's so fast.
Yep.
It's all great stuff. But that's what they were saying, and I was the candidate that took that seriously. There was no let us wait for 10 years to see what happens, or till this developer decides to do something, or this property owner decides to do something. We had to lay the groundwork and set the atmosphere so that, and change the environment so there was an understanding that this is what we wanted, and we were ready for it as a local government.
So you really had to make sure you were looking ahead and not being reactionary.
Right.
That's something I hear there. And as Discover Dunwoody has learned, as we are engaging in this space, we see so many great developments. And what we do is we simply, if I may, we kind of get to harvest the fruit, right? You have been working on planting all of these things with our economic development engines and all those other things, and having, I'm going to tell you what, the bones of Dunwoody are unbelievable. We have so many businesses that say they pick our hotels because when someone stays in our hotel, there's something to do outside of those hotels. And it's such an important part. Well, that doesn't happen just by happenstance. It takes forward-looking leadership and saying, okay, this is what we need to do to achieve a vision. Now, this was a question further on down, but I think it's great to ask you now. What do you think Dunwoody looks like? Now we have all of this happening, right? We have High Street about to open, which we're all excited about, and Campus 244 coming online. What do you think, in your opinion, this is not a government question,
Right.
very important, what do you think Dunwoody looks like in 10 years?
It's a really good question. Mostly, I think we continue our march forward. What I hope for Dunwoody is that we are able to maintain that small town feel while our commercial centers grow and thrive.
Sure.
So for Perimeter Center particularly,
Okay.
but really for all of Dunwoody, walkability is key.
It's so important.
We know from a study that your predecessors did at Discover Dunwoody in the late teens that when people come to Dunwoody, one of the things that's missing is tourists or visitors or employees is easy places to go for a run. Well, we're fixing that, right? We've broken ground on the Ashford Dunwoody Trail. Excuse me.
So let's talk about the
Right.
Ashford Dunwoody Trail. Where is that, and what is that going to look like?
They broke ground. It's going to be a great multimodal trail all up and down Ashford Dunwoody Road.
Wow.
First on the west side, eventually on the east side. You'll be able to connect to the Dunwoody Trailway down Perimeter Center East, which eventually will go into the Georgetown area, which connects you to Pernicial Park and Brook Run Park. For the serious runners and walkers, we will connect to Path 400
Wow.
We will match up to Sandy Springs.
And
It's-
even Path 400 is going to eventually connect
the Beltline.
into the Beltline. So,
So for serious-
so many, this web of walkable
Right.
trails is so important.
And then, along with Path 400, the connections, I have been working with the mayors. We call ourselves the top end mayors, which is Sandy Springs and Tucker and Chamblee and Brookhaven and Doraville and Cobb County and unincorporated DeKalb, where we have just finalized a master trail plan across 285.
Wow, that's fantastic.
So you'll be able, it sounds very simplistic, but for those who are familiar with the area, you'll be able to get on at the Silver Comet and ride all the way to Tucker, or
that's
vice
amazing.
versa.
Yeah.
And we are going to eventually connect to the Gwinnett Greenway,
Just incredible.
and the paths in Doraville and Brookhaven and Chamblee.
And this is not easy.
No, it's
because
hard
for
work.
example, the path that goes under 285 had to be planned.
Yes.
While 285 and 400 interchange was being renovated and
Right.
changes, and I mean they had to create the gap underneath that bridge wide
Right.
enough to accommodate it. So this does take some serious
It
planning.
takes time. It's not going to happen overnight, but it's coming, and particularly the walkability changes in perimeter are coming much quicker than some of the regional connectivity.
It's so important.
So important.
It does make a big difference when, and I mentioned before, people stay in Dunwoody because
Right.
there are things to do in Dunwoody. Having the ability to have a nice walk from, say, Le Meridian to Buffalo Wild Wings or to that side of the mall makes a big difference. It will make people come back.
Right. And so one of the examples I give is that from any of the hotels in the perimeter area, you're going to be able to pick up a drink at your hotel. We can talk about our entertainment district if you would like, and then walk to 244 for Campus 244 for an appetizer or dinner. Walk to High Street for duck bowling or karaoke or all the other.
Do you do karaoke?
I do not. All the other amenities that are coming there, including food and dessert, or go to Jenny's Ice Cream in Ashford Lane, all safely in a nice environment. And if you choose to, you can carry your drink with you.
Such a big deal. So let's talk about the entertainment district. What is that?
So the entertainment district came about when I was at a conference and I attended a session on entertainment districts, and the panels, which is always interesting when you go to Georgia conferences, were primarily mayors from small towns. But what they said is that in our commercial district, and mostly their downtowns, they couldn't have events because selling alcohol outside the restaurants really hurt the restaurants. So an entertainment district was their solution. So we came back and we looked at it, and our property owners, our centers, our commercial centers can apply to be an entertainment district, which means that you can buy a drink, an alcoholic drink, in any of their restaurants and walk around with it anywhere amongst their property. But what we have done for perimeter is we have connected all the entertainment districts.
So wait a minute. If I get a drink you just said this earlier. If I go to Campus 244 and I
Right.
get a drink,
Right.
can I carry that drink all the way over to Ashford Lane?
Yes.
Wow. That's fantastic. And I just passed High Street on the way.
Right.
So I could even stop at High
Right.
Street. Can I get it refilled at High Street, you think?
You get your own another cup at High Street. But yes, you can. So the idea is, it's not that we necessarily say we're creating some big party zone.
Right.
But the idea is that you can have an evening that goes beyond just dinner. So when my children were young, and even now, if we had a babysitter, I didn't want to just go to dinner. I wanted to do something else because I
Something
didn't
more
want to go
special.
home. I just didn't want to go home.
Right,
Let's be
right.
honest.
Okay.
I didn't want to go home. And when we go, similarly, when we travel, there's an awful lot of places you can stay where there's just a hotel or there's just two hotels and maybe there's a fast food restaurant. So when you eat dinner, your evening is done, and I don't like to be done just at dinner. I want to go out and exercise or walk, and
This is such a great thing.
And so we offer that in Dunwoody with our hotels. It's a similar experience. You come back from your business meetings or your conference or your training, and your day doesn't have to be over. You don't have to eat dinner in your hotel room or just eat dinner at the hotel at a restaurant, and your day have to be done. Even if all you do is take a walk, even if you
Right.
skip the karaoke or the Jenny's ice cream or Cold Stone ice
Don't
cream,
skip
whatever.
the Jenny's ice cream.
Right, don't skip the ice cream. But you can still have things to look at and
Right.
places to go, and that's how I like to travel, which makes me so pleased as to what we've done in Dunwoody.
I just think it's terrific. We're working on changing the sticker to
Right,
a
the
Discover
cups.
Dunwoody sticker, which
Right.
you put on the side of your glass when you're going to these entertainment
Right.
districts. And you've heard it here first, folks. We're going to put a little barcode, little QR code
Right.
actually on the sticker. And if you scan it, you can download the new app that we're rolling out.
Mm-hmm.
And it's called Dunwoody Deals and Rewards. And you'll be able to use the app to go to some of these restaurants and get special deals.
That's awesome.
And plus, you can check in at those places and you can get points based on those check-ins. So look for that. But also, we've got a lot of restaurants that have joined in, and you can go and you can get specials during happy hour. And this is such a great thing. And we could not have done this without the work that City Council and you, Mayor Deutsch, have done to produce the ability to say, hey, you mean I could go get a burger from Billy Kramer at NFA, and I can go and maybe I want to walk over and get a drink at Barn, and then head over to Morty's and get some of their brisket. And I can do that. And I don't think Billy actually serves drinks,
He
but I could
doesn't.
do this over at Barn, and I can walk
Right.
around with that. I just think it's terrific.
A better example is you get your burger at Billy's and your beer at Moondog Growlers
Oh,
across
good.
the street. So
Yeah.
when we talk about Dunwoody Village, this is a really good example of local government in action if you're interested.
Very interested.
So, way back when, if you take the way back when machine, 50 years ago or so, the people that lived in Dunwoody, as the area that we affectionately call Dunwoody Village was being developed, were very concerned about design and architectural standards. So they worked with DeKalb County and came up with this Williamsburg/Georgetown look
It looked great when it went up.
that was timely when it
Yeah,
went
it's
up
terrific.
and much less timely 35, 40 years later. The biggest problem with the design standards is it kept any property owner from reinvesting.
Oh, wow.
Change is hard, particularly on the local level, because people are often very attached to things. And a few years ago, it's been more than a few years ago now, it's probably been 6 or 7 years ago, then Councilwoman Talmadge and I met with the representatives of Regency Properties, which owns most of the property in the village area. And we said, what is it going to take for you to reinvest and redevelop? And it turned out that after years of hearing that Regency, that's not what they did, they absolutely did. We're interested, but Dunwoody Village wasn't even on the list because of the architectural requirements.
So the architectural requirements were locked in, so they
They
couldn't
were locked
change
in.
anything.
They could change, but they had to still meet the same standards. So as
Okay.
an example, the windows that were allowed in Dunwoody Village were not very conducive to restaurants. Restaurants like windows,
Sure.
if they want windows, that people can see in.
I like
Because-
restaurants with windows I can see out.
Right. See when you're in there, you like to see out. When you're outside, they like people to see in. Look
I'm
at how
thinking of North
warm-
Italia.
Yeah. Right. Right. And then, so Pam and I were like, well, we'll get this done. We'll get this changed. And 2 years of public meetings, really well attended on-site workshops. People came in and they would say, we don't want any changes. And then I would say, well, which windows do you like? And they would say, well, this is Georgetown and this is Williamsburg. And they would be absolutely wrong. I'm like,
So
well,
they didn't even really
they
understand.
didn't really understand.
Oh, my goodness.
And the thing is that Dunwoody Village has to redevelop in a way that's Dunwoody-centric.
Right.
A lot of times people would be like, well, we want this or we want that, and I'm really consistent in saying, we're going to see redevelopment in Dunwoody Village that's to scale, that makes sense for our community. As busy as Mount Vernon and Chamblee Dunwoody are, they're not the highest volume streets in the region.
Right.
And that's what's happened. So with the help of a local restaurateur, David Abus, with his barn and Morty's and Message in the Bottle, and with Regency, the redevelopment of the courtyard there, we have the beginning of a very re-energized center. Now there's Valor Coffee and Village Threads. Carbonara's obviously a long time Dunwoody restaurant, and it's all good.
It is all good.
It's all good.
And we get so much feedback about it on our social channels. It's true. It's great.
And one of the things that I think makes Dunwoody unique, in Metro Atlanta at least, but probably anywhere, is that if you come here as a visitor, or if you live here, you have your choice of restaurants that are nationally known, that you know that when you go to them, you know exactly what your favorite food is and what it's going to taste like and what you can expect from the bar, for example.
Right.
But we also have a nice mixture of local restaurants that are easily accessible from our main commercial area, as well as regional restaurants and smaller national restaurants like Culinary Dropout, which just opened here. It's a chain, but it's a very small chain.
Right.
It's delicious.
It's fantastic.
It has music, but it's not a big national chain. It's not a small local restaurant, but it's going to meet your needs.
Right. It's fantastic.
And,
yeah.
and there's lots of opportunities. So if you're a visitor and you have one dinner and you're exhausted and you know that Maggiano's is your favorite, you can go to Maggiano's or Cheesecake Factory or Buffalo Wild Wings.
Right.
Whatever it is that you're looking for, we have it here. But if you have more time and you're kind of curious and you want to see the rest of Dunwoody, you have those opportunities as well.
Go to the Village. Village is a good spot.
Dunwoody Village is a good spot. We're very, I said we're 52,000 people. We're only 13 square miles.
Small.
We have great parks, lots of amenities for
That
you
is
to
great.
use.
So I want to shift gears a little bit.
Okay.
We talked a little bit about this. So as mayor, do you hire and fire everybody, or is that the city manager? And then why is it set up like it is?
In Georgia, there are primarily two forms of municipal governments.
Okay.
And Georgia has something like more than 530 cities.
It's a lot.
It's a lot of cities. 75% of which are under 5,000 people, so a lot of small towns. And in the very big cities and in the very small cities, most likely the mayor is running the city.
Okay.
So that everybody works for the
So
mayor.
that does work. I mean, you see
for,
that
for
model.
very small cities. Often in the very smallest cities in Georgia, when you run for council, you actually become a department head.
Oh,
You actually might
interesting.
be the only employee of the, like, you may be the parks department. You know, these are very small cities. Everybody's hands-on. The overwhelming majority of cities in Georgia have a form of government, some version of a council manager form of government.
Okay.
So the mayor and city council has, in our case, 3 employees. We hire the city manager, the city clerk, and the city attorney. They all work
Okay.
directly for the mayor and council. And everybody else works for the city manager or, in some level under whoever works the city manager.
Okay.
My position, these mayors, in this form of government, mayor nor council is meant to be a full-time job. So
yours is not a full-time job.
yeah,
So
it's not
you're-
supposed to be a full-time job. And
Is it a full-time job? Really?
I am very fortunate that I have the time that I can choose to make it mostly full-time.
Okay.
But I'm not watching the roads be paved.
Right.
It's not, if you call me or email me with a problem, I just send it on to the person I send it on to the city manager, who then has to make sure it's solved. And so I'm a little bit able to pick and choose how I spend my time.
Sure.
I work
That's
with
good.
mayors that have full-time jobs across the region, and they make it work. For me, I am Dunwoody's #1 cheerleader.
Yeah, we benefit from the amount of time that you spend with the city. 100%.
I am very fortunate. I like to sell. The pandemic, particularly, has shown how important it was or is to celebrate happy things. The city started managing ribbon cuttings during the pandemic, which is y'all often show up at our ribbon cuttings,
Yes,
Discover
yes.
Dunwoody, to help us celebrate. But it's been remarkable how many businesses have opened, and I'm
terrific.
always glad to welcome them.
We absolutely love that.
And I do too. And then the nice thing about our form of government is that we hire a professional to manage the city,
Which is great.
because I don't really know anything about paving roads.
Nor do you want to.
No, I
necessarily,
don't
right?
really want to.
Yeah,
Or
that's-
what time and gardening is not my thing, so I can't really tell you when you're supposed to plant trees, that
That's
kind of
good.
thing.
So does the city manager make laws?
No. So council's job outside of hiring the 3 people that work for us is almost exclusively policy and direction setting,
Okay.
and zoning, which is land use development. So we spend almost all our time as mayor. The budget is my budget, along with the city managers, and the budget is a policy document. It shows you what the community's priorities are.
Okay.
You can learn a lot about wherever you live by exploring their budget and
Sure.
seeing where their money's going. But we spend most of our time discussing policy, what needs to be tweaked, getting reports, learning about what's going on in our own community, and adjusting things as needed.
That's good. So we've talked about a lot of things, and I so appreciate all this time. I am curious, what do you think Dunwoodians should know about their city that most do not?
I think a couple things. I have a story about civic engagement that I think is important. If you've been to Brook Run Park, and this is true of wherever you live, not just Dunwoodians. If we have a park, Brook Run, and many years ago, we're a new city. Newer city. We've just celebrated our 15th anniversary. But a few years before we became a city, the CEO of the county had a meeting because the county had just acquired about 100 acres in Dunwoody to be a park.
Okay.
And a young man showed up, a kid, a middle schooler showed up and said, "I want a skate park." And the CEO of the county said, "That's a great idea." And there's a skate park at Brook Run Park because one family showed up at a public meeting and asked for it.
Oh my. Isn't that terrific?
And in local government, I can't tell you that that's typical, but in local government, because we are, even in a city with 50,000 people, we are very close to the people that live in our communities. We hear what you say, we interact with you, and your involvement matters.
Right.
Letting us know your priorities. When there's a problem and you have a solution, I get those kind of emails. It's very helpful. So that's one thing. Civic engagement really matters. And you have a chance to make a big difference in your community.
It's good.
And then the second thing is that one of the things that makes Dunwoody unique, and I touched on it earlier, is that we have these series of neighborhoods, and we feel like a small town. But a block away is Perimeter Center, which is a dense commercial area, one of the largest in the Southeast in terms of office space, with every dining opportunity you need, or you might want, I shouldn't say need, but that you might want, with great retail, fantastic hotels that we've added so many in the last few years.
Thank you for that plug.
But it's true. There's no reason if you live in Dunwoody for your visitors to stay anywhere else.
Or to hold events
Or-
like
right.
bar mitzvahs, bat mitzvahs. Come to stay in Dunwoody.
We did. My daughter, we used La Meridian when she had her
Oh,
bat
thank you.
mitzvah all those years ago. But there are all these city-type amenities in your suburban community.
Right here.
And more are coming, right? High Street's going to bring, they call it eat-attainment or something, where you'll be able to eat and have entertainment as well. It'll have High Street will be home to our third rooftop bar.
Wow.
I mean, we've gone from 0 to 3 in
Just like
5
that.
years, just like
Right.
that. There's just so much going on. We have a MARTA station, which is a huge asset. We have a regional mall that's extremely successful. And it's all part of Dunwoody. And I think sometimes that surprises people.
It is a surprising thing. And you said earlier 8,000 people
Yeah,
live
about
right
8,000
here
people live
in the perimeter.
in
area.
perimeter. About
Yeah.
8,000 people live in the perimeter area, and another 9,000 on the Sandy Springs, Brookhaven side. So there are a lot of people that call this the perimeter area home.
Yeah, and it is on the hotel side, we sit and see so many exciting things that are here.
Right.
And we're seeing success because of the great offerings that are here in Dunwoody. We're seeing more people want to stay in our hotels. Our hotels are doing well. In fact, don't tell anybody, just between us.
right.
I wouldn't be surprised. Oh, I'm looking at the camera like somebody
Right.
else is listening. But I wouldn't be surprised if we had some more hotels knock on our door, because we are seeing some success in this region,
Right.
like better than any other.
Right. And it really has, like, from a hotel guest perspective, so much to offer.
It does.
Easy access to the airport. If you're coming for a business meeting, Dunwoody has some really unique spaces to have a party, like if you're having a hospitality, whatever, for your meeting, as well as just fantastic hotels.
That's right.
And then
We have a good
great
variety.
restaurants, everything. We
It is-
really
it is
have a
great.
lot going for us.
I am not going to pelter you with any more questions. I so appreciate all this time, and we have gone into so many things in deep, and I love this because it is fun to talk with you.
Been a
You're
blast.
such an open book, and I do encourage all of you to look for our mayor on social media, because she is. I've been on the restaurant group, and I've seen you respond to people, so I think that's great. But if somebody wanted to reach out to you, formally, how
Right.
can they find
So
you?
the easiest way to find me is simply to Google me, and you won't miss me. But it'll come up with the city's link to email me. So one of my mantras for 2024 is to remind people that tagging me on a Facebook post may not be the best way to get my attention in an emergency, and email me. And you can find that through the city's webpage. If you happen to live in Dunwoody or visit often, when you go to the city's webpage, you'll have an opportunity to subscribe to our weekly D-News.
It's great.
If you also then follow Discover Dunwoody, who is doing a really fantastic job of letting people know what's happening on a weekly basis
Thank you for
in
that.
Dunwoody, you will be so well covered to know what to do. No one can tell me anymore that Dunwoody is boring.
That we are not
They
boring.
cannot say that anymore. I will tell you that was a pretty common complaint 5 years ago. But we have so much going on that it's fantastic. And then I'm on Facebook as Mayor Lynn Deutsch. I have a very new Instagram page that I'm trying really hard to launch, which is Mayor Lynn. So I'm
Wow.
really easy to find.
You are very easy to find. You are so easy to find that you made time to come see us.
Well, of
so we
course,
do
this
appreciate
y'all
this
do.
so much.
Discover Dunwoody, for those who don't know, does really important work for so many reasons. But getting meetings to Dunwoody so that people fill our hotels, the communications work that y'all have taken on in the last few years, it's going to be so. It's already great. It's going to be so important when everything finishes opening in the perimeter area,
Yeah.
so that you can know when the karaoke special nights are and all that. So Discover Dunwoody should become people's destination looking for information about what's happening here.
I love that.
But one of the things I love about the meetings that y'all recruit is that I hope we're turning some people into Dunwoody residents down the road, or at a minimum, repeat visitors, right? Because you can come visit Atlanta and stay in Dunwoody and have plenty of access to all the things you want to see in the metro area. And Discover Dunwoody allows us to show really the whole world, because people come from all over the world, what Dunwoody has to offer. And that's tremendous.
Well, thank you so much. And it is easy to do what we do when there is so much to talk about. We
we're
have great
gonna have
assets
more to
to
talk about.
serve. We've got great hotels, and we've great hotelier partners. So it is, I don't want to say it's easy, but it is easier because of all the great
Right.
assets we have. So thank you for
Well,
that.
thank y'all for having me.
And thank you for watching. I am Mark Galvin, and this show was produced by Discover Dunwoody. Our producer is Madison Holtz. Our sound technician is Emily Inser-Gibson. I want all of you to remind you one more time, as we always do, to go get your Dunwoody sticker and wear it proudly. These are great for laptops, but even better for the back of your car. I've had a couple of people going, I don't want to put that on my car because it won't come off. Well, we've designed really nice stickers that you can take them off. And if for some reason you want another one, come see us. We'll give you a new one. You can find them at the library. You can find them at City Hall. Or you can find them right here at our office. Come by and see us. We'd love to give you a sticker, and they are free. Can't make that deal any better. On behalf of the entire Discover Dunwoody team, thank you for watching. Be sure to follow us on all of our social media sites at Discover Dunwoody, or go to our website, discoverdunwoody.com, which, as the mayor mentioned, is a great resource for all the things that are going on in Dunwoody. We have listings of all the restaurants, all the shopping areas, and the events. We get all the events posted on the website too, so go check that out. Madam Mayor, thanks again for joining us.
you.
It was so much fun to sit down and talk with you. When we have the 100th show, will you come back?
If I'm still mayor.
Well, I hope
But
you
even
are.
if I'm not, I'll
because you
come
just
back.
got reelected. So
I
we've
just got reelected. So,
so-
you have 4 years to get your next 50 in.
We'll definitely do it. So you heard it here first. Show 100, we'll have you come back.
And we'll have lots of new stuff by then,
We
too.
will have a lot of
Earth stuff. So great.
It is great. Thanks again for being
Thank
here.
you.
And thank you to all of you for watching. Now, go enjoy the day and come discover Dunwoody.